Hey, y'all. Thanks for joining me as we wrap up Sunday Fun Day. I'm Josh from Louisiana, and if you're joining me for the first time on Sundays, I am here to bring you back to the Bayou and celebrate a show that was gone too soon, Southern Charm New Orleans. This week, I'm doing things a little bit differently yet again. I thought I was going to be live to join you all at 4 p.m., but life had other plans. So, with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this recap of Season 1, Episode 7 of Southern Charm New Orleans. Now, laissez les bon temps rouler.
Good times, big easy. A little secret that I keep from me. Come on now, close your lips. A little secret. Let's keep living the good life. Laissez les bon temps rouler.
All right, so the episode opens up with party preparations for Reagan and Jeff's Easter soiree. Jeff and Justin are shopping for refreshments, and Jeff opens up about where things currently stand with Reagan. He admits that having Reagan living in the quarter is tougher on him than he might have expected, and he wants to start a family, and his biological clock is ticking. Um, so, um, but even Justin says that as a lawyer, he understands Reagan needing to stay in the quarter. Just for me getting my bachelor's degree in creative writing, I didn't want to be around anybody when I was in school. So I completely understand needing your own space to kind of, do your own thing and really focus on school. But to think about having a baby and trying to go to law school, I think Reagan's smart to try to keep her focus on school and not rush into having kids. Then we cut to Barry talking about Gian cutting ties with him. At this point, to keep punishing Barry for even using a slur, even as a gay man, I have to be honest, I found it a little bit extreme. He said it, he apologized for it, and he took ownership and never tried to make an excuse for his behavior. But now Gian has moved on to John Moody to create an event with him, which leads me to the question, why is she so invested in the people of this friend group? Next, we're back at Easter party prep. First, I have to say that I am so loving the fact that rather than catering her party, Reagan said that she was going to cook because her food is 10 times better than anything she could have catered. And she looked like the most perfect little Southern lady in her dress. My favorite quote from her this episode was, "Who needs a Xanax when you can host a party? I pour a glass of wine and put on my apron, and nothing else matters." Amen, sister. Honestly, what can't this woman do? I mean, she's the top of her class at law school and she's running her own business and she can put on a stunning party. Then we have a few cute little vignettes from our other cast members. Justin and Kelsey are picking out flowers, which led to another conversation about a wedding. And side note, I really love nothing more than a spring bouquet. So if my future boyfriend's watching this, take note of that. Then we have Susan walking up to Reagan and Jeff's house for the party, and she says, "Brown people in New Orleans, no one is going to a backyard party in a cocktail dress. We should be in comfortable clothes, drinking beer, and peeling crawfish." But to be fair, that's not only brown people, that's pretty much my family's tradition every single year, and we're as white as you can be. And then Gian shows up to the party. Who do you think this irritated the most? Obviously, Hurricane Tamika. Her first question was, who the hell invited Gian again? This is hilarious to me because as annoyed as Tamika is by Gian, she just for even showing up, every time she sees her, she does the whole Southern thing and is very cordial with the, "Hey, how are you doing? Good to see you." But Tamika thinks that Gian is an opportunist. And Reagan said, when John asked to bring a friend, I thought it was going to be the flavor of the week, but instead he showed up with Gian. But again, Reagan did the proper Southern thing and was very gracious with Gian. But Reagan is starting to feel that Tamika is looking to have it out with someone at every event that she hosts. I have to say that Tamika will sometimes toss the grenade, but I do feel like she's validated with Gian, especially after she had it out with Barry and then shifts focus to John Moody and shows up to a party with all of their friends. It did seem a little in poor taste to me, but let's put a pin in that for now. We then have a croquet. We have croquet and an adult Easter egg hunt. And I've got to say, when it comes to sports with a stick, it's not John Moody's forte, but God bless him for trying. And I think that the egg hunt was a great idea to do a adults only Easter egg hunt. You got booze, lube, and pregnancy tests. What more could you ask for? Now we have a beautiful sit down dinner catered by Miss Reagan. And I want to say, Reagan, if you're watching this, I will gladly accept an invitation to your house anytime to come and try some of your cooking. But during the dinner, Tamika has a heartfelt moment with everyone and expresses how appreciative she is of the relationships they all have. Regardless of any arguments they may have, they can always come together and love each other. But this leads Tamika to a conversation about her daughter, Rainey. She's growing concerned about Rainey and the fact that she's in a school where she is the different one. She has boys telling her that she's got wild and crazy hair and she doesn't belong in their school. And I'm by no means trying to compare what it's like for a young black girl to go through what I went through as a young gay child in school. But I was the only gay kid in my Catholic school growing up, and Rainey's the only black girl in her school. And so I completely empathize with what she's going through. While I don't understand what her experience is, I know what it's like to be the different one and to be the one that's like kind of called out when you're in a sea of people who are all just the same. Um, and I know the sting of being different and made fun of because of that. I mean, I was called a faggot since I was in kindergarten, and it was so bad, in fact, that as a kindergartner, I had other kids telling me that I was going to burn in hell, and it's not like I was out in kindergarten. I was an effeminate child, so it was like kind of obvious that I was gay, but you know, kids choose to pick and like really go in on the ones that are they see as lesser than because they're different, when in fact we learn in the end that our differences are our powers. But in the end, like when it comes to this whole situation with Rainey, people need to be held accountable for bullying behavior, and I think that starts at home. Parents need to be made aware of their children's actions so they can correct it at the source. But I feel like we're never going to find a full solution for um, bullying, especially in schools. But when it comes to just teasing somebody about silly little things, it's one thing. But when you're attacking someone for things that they cannot change, that's a different story, in my opinion. Finally, we get to the true meat of the episode. And honestly, I wasn't expecting Jian to play such a large role in this episode, and I don't think we necessarily came to a resolution in the end. But the conversation's going. First, we have Jian worrying about Barry's, we'll call it misconduct, and the repercussions that they would face if it ever got out. Jian says we have to take responsibility for our actions as adults. But back to my earlier point, Barry has taken accountability. He's owned it, he's apologized for it, and he hasn't been defensive or tried to deny his mistake. And if you're so concerned about involvement with Barry and the repercussions of his actions, why are you hanging around his friend group so much? So once Tamika gets wind of Barry and Gian's conversations, she decides to have a little sit down of her own. When Tamika confronts Gian tells her, "You're reckless. I was your husband's client, and I think this is very unprofessional of you. And you are confronting me about something that has nothing to do with you. If you want your husband to succeed in life," and then Tamika cuts her off. And she says, "Last I checked, I'm married, you're not." Shots fired. But then Gian fires back and says, "At least I knew when my marriage was over." The drama, y'all. I couldn't even. But side note, if you follow Tamika and or Barry on socials, you can see that they're still going strong. Then in Barry's confessional, he says, "I don't need Tamika to fight my battles." And while I get that, at the same time, you can't help but appreciate Tamika's defense of Barry. She wants him to succeed, and she sees Gian as a hindrance. In the end, as I said, there was no resolution after these conversations, but next week is the season finale, so let's see how all that unfolds. All right, y'all. This one was really quick. I'm sorry to change up things at the last minute, but I hope you do enjoy this recap. I am releasing it at 4. I guess that doesn't matter right now because you're not going to know until it's 4 o'clock anyway. But let me know your thoughts below. And also, if any of you use the red beans and rice recipe from last week's recap. If you're not following me on Instagram, I'm Josh from Louisiana. You can stay up to date on video releases as well as other snapshots of things to come. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends. As always, you don't have to love everybody, but at least don't be a hater gator. I hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday and a great week ahead. Take care, and I will see you next week.